Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. We're back in person. So delightful to see everyone, and most of your faces I know. Some of them are new, but just so nice to be together again, and in an amazing place like Baltimore. We're only running 10 minutes behind, so I'm very much aware that over the course of the day we might fall behind more, but we'll catch up. So my name's Florian Eichler. I'm a neurologist at Mass General in Boston and president of ALD Connect.
I'm Kathleen O'Sullivan-Fortin. I suppose I should be closer to this. I'm Kathleen O'Sullivan-Fortin. I am General Counsel of ALD Connect. I'm a member of the board. I have ALD, and I have a son with ALD. So I'm happy to be here.
And Kathleen's always understated. She's really the driving force of our organization. So much thanks to her. So welcome to Baltimore. I thought it would only be appropriate for me to have a shout out here to the history of ALD and Hugo Moser and the amazing team at KKI that for so many decades have provided service and research to patients with ALD. So something that our community is very proud of, and thanks to all the leadership over the years, also of Ali Fatemi and Ann Moser and others. So I thought, since some of you are new to this consortium, I'll do a very quick primer on what is adrenal leukodystrophy. And those of you who are other experts in the crowd, feel free to chime in, correct me. But it's a single gene disorder that leads to a progressive disease affecting brain and spinal cord caused by mutations in ABCD1. Its name comes from adrenoleukodystrophy, meaning affecting the adrenal gland, shown here on the right, and then leuko standing for white, so the white matter of the brain being affected in the cerebral form of the disease. So all is here in a name. It's an X-linked disorder, so remember that men will pass on the affected gene to all daughters, but none of the sons, and the mothers who harbor this gene will pass it on to half of the girls and boys. Boys don't have a second X and are more severely affected. We now recognize that women are also affected and not mere carriers, and that's a big paradigm shift over the past 5-10 years, and something that needs to be acknowledged. And we now use the term symptomatic women or asymptomatic women just to delineate that we're also learning a lot about how women are affected over time. So the gene defect in X-linked ALD, here just to, in the era of gene therapy, also to show you the target of some of the treatments. This is a gene that is 20 kb long, spans a certain number of exons, encodes a half transporter in the peroxisome. Now, many words here that may not be familiar to some of you. Peroxisome is one part of a cell which acts like a trash can for degrading certain lipids. These are the very long chain fatty acids. If the transporter does not work, you can't get these lipids into the peroxisome, and they cannot be degraded. So here, ABCD1 encoding the ALD protein. As I mentioned before, this leads to elevations in very long chain fatty acids. Many people ask me in the beginning, when they get to know this disease, what does that actually mean? It means you have a carbon chain length of longer than 20 carbons. So you see here depicted this long string of carbon atoms affecting, again, adrenal gland and brain. The disease course of ALD is variable. There are different phenotypes, and we understand that there's the highest risk for cerebral ALD in childhood, but it can still occur in adulthood. And in adults, the spinal cord is more affected. But in adulthood, both of the AMN and the cerebral ALD phenotypes can occur. So we have to, I remember one of the first ALD Connect meetings, a patient raised his hand and said, well, that's all fine. I have AMN, I don't have ALD. You have to understand that ALD is the umbrella genetic term, and within that, there are different manifestations, meaning the spinal cord disease, AMN, where generally the brain is intact, and then cerebral ALD that affects the brain. So we now are really at a point in time where we are thinking about the lifetime span of how ALD affects not just older children or adults, but even newborns as they grow. What kind of monitoring do they need? How do we need to ensure their health? And I think we are getting to a point where we're trying to target therapy to every different stage of life and find ways to prevent manifestations that will otherwise rob our patients of quality of life. This is true not only for men, but also for women. And we now recognize that the majority of women over the course of a lifetime will have symptoms and require interventions and treatments that ameliorate that. So for those who are new here, why did we start ALD Connect? We really wanted to bring all stakeholders together to improve the plight of patients, putting the patient's voice, the patient's perspective front and center. We knew that we couldn't do this alone as physicians. We needed patient advocacy to lead us. We needed the scientists to tell us about the biology. We needed our industry colleagues to help us with manufacturing, with regulatory issues. And all of us together we can make quick progress, but it really needs a coming together of all talents, of all perspectives. And so our mission has been really to accelerate care, accelerate research, and ultimately arrive at a cure. We had a very ambitious goal of revolutionizing care for ALD. I think in the past 10 years, we've done amazing things. We have now our first therapy approved by the FDA for ALD. We have had interactions with the FDA, such as the patient-focused drug development meeting that you'll hear about. So it's been an amazing community. You may ask who is part of this. Many academic medical centers, Amsterdam, KKI, Stanford, Mass General, Utah, Minnesota, many patient advocacy organizations across Europe and here in the US, and importantly, each one of you. And I think that's one message we want to get across, that there's an opportunity for all to get engaged here. So I'm just going to pass over to Kathleen here to introduce our board.
Oh. Oops. So, yeah, last night every year we are lucky enough to have an in-person board meeting alongside the Scientific and Patient Learning Academy. And so we were fortunate enough last night to have 12 of the 14 board members come, and we had a really, I think, one of our most exceptional in-person meetings where we could really kind of set the tone, celebrate where we've come, and really kind of set a chart a path for where we're going. You probably recognize, you glance at our little canned headshots, and you can see us around the room, sprinkled around the room. If you recognize someone, if you don't, please reach out, introduce yourselves, let us know how we can better represent everyone and all our shared goals and dreams, not only for this disease space, but for this organization, and how we can all lift each other up. I would name everyone. We're available on the website. I'm not going to do it. I see everyone. If the board members want to stand or raise your hand or wave, but I just in the. So I'm just going in order. Next, just a brief remark on what a year 2022 has been as we wrap things. I know there are copies of our 2021 annual report that are available. It's also available electronically. We're in the process of making a new one, but as we start that process, it's really been an amazing year for ALD Connect. We have grown all of our patient support programs, not only financial support, but we've added more monthly support calls. We've onboarded more mentors and paired more mentee-mentor matches in the peer mentor program. And we've had various webinars and educational programs that have been successful. Also, as Florian mentioned, on July 22nd, we hosted a very successful externally led patient-focused drug development meeting focusing on the adult manifestations of ALD, which are men with AMN, women with ALD, and individuals with cerebral ALD. And we've got great feedback from the FDA. Right now, we're in the process of working on the Voice of the Patient report. I really want to thank everyone in this room who tuned in, who emailed us a comment, who called in, who participated, who was a Zoom discussion starter, who recorded their experiences so that we could be shared. I think we're really rewriting the book about how people treat ALD patients. And I know as a patient, it feels really good to know that we are empowered to do this and that this is an organization that will lift our voices and amplify that. We also are breaking new ground, and we've given 3 emerging investigator grants. So we are lucky enough to have one of our recipients in the room. Hemo, if you just want to wave, you'll see. We want to make sure that we support emerging scientists, and if there are people that have great ideas about something that can enhance our community and the understanding of our landscape, then we want to support that. So look for Hemo next year to be presenting the results of his work. No pressure. But it's exciting to be breaking ground into supporting research. We also have another research project that will be discussed later, so I will not spoil that one. Also, I just want to say it's so exciting to have the return of in-person meetings. Thank you all for being willing to come. Thank you all for attesting to the health and safety guidelines. Thank you all for taking the time. Thank you to the Greg Benton the Michael Benton, sorry, Greg, I'm like, sorry, in the corner of my eye. The Michael Benton Travel Scholarship sponsors who make it possible for us to support patients as they come to these meetings. It's really been important, and I'm so grateful that we're all here. There's more to come. There's more to be discussed. Just one last thing is we could not be here without our sponsors. And so every single thing, everything you're touching, sitting on, drinking, writing with, is because of the amazing sponsors that we have and because of the industry support that we receive. And so Bluebird Bio, Swan Bio, Minarex, and Vigil Neuro, we could not have this party together without them. One last thing is that we have an angel donor who has stepped forward and said that any donation made to ALD Connect during the annual meeting, they will match up to a sum of $50,000. And so they did this last year, and I believe we raised $21,000, just grassroots, and that was on Zoom. So that was people Zooming in, PayPaling money, sending checks, and so we ended up doubling that money. But I just want to remind people that if there's an opportunity, year-end giving is coming around the bend, that your dollar goes twice as far in support of all of our programs and everyone in this room. And then finally, this weekend, we're really going to strive to answer this question, and that how can we live our best lives with ALD? I think it's being educated. I think it's supporting each other and being active and really a call to action for all of us. So with that, I'd like to hand the meeting off to our first speaker.